Hello everyone, I am Andrea, and today we're going to discuss the behavioral concerns revolving around video games. Here's the table of content. We are going to start off with the introduction, where I will be bringing awareness to the issue and the concerns people have with it. I will proceed to talk about the impact video game has caused to individual behavior. Then I will talk about how video game does not impact individual behavior. I will continue to mention the ethical approach using utilitarianism and mention what is morally best in video games. Lastly, I will state the global analysis around video games. Introduction. So we are going to start off with a quote by Kevin McCarthy, which says, "But the idea of these video games that dehumanize individuals to have a game of shooting individuals and others. I've always felt that this is a problem for future generations and others." As we can conclude, this is an issue that many are worried about. Throughout the years, video games are becoming more realistic than ever, and video games are being portraying violence, criminal behavior, harassment, sexual exploitation, and so much more. This has caused an increased awareness where people are scared for future generations and the way of behaving. So, do you think video game has an impact on the way someone behaves? Well, let's take a look. Video game impacted behavior. There was a research conducted by Zahi and his fellow researcher where they performed a study with over 3,896 students from Connecticut High School. They were able to find that the intensity of violence in video games and the duration the individual plays can potentially lead to them acting aggressive. Also, the researchers were able to discover that 4.9% of the gamers had difficulty trying to cut back on the gaming, had an uncontrollable urge to play, and had anxiety that could only be addressed by gaming. Another research conducted by Zhang and his fellow researcher, where they studied 300 children from random kindergarten in Southeast China. They were able to conclude that violent video games promote aggressive behavior through the increase of aggressive connection. Video game does not impact behavior. Now we are going to take a look at the research that proved there is no correlation between video game and behavior. So, a research done by Kuhn and his fellow researcher demonstrated that they did not find any negative effects from playing violent video games. They were able to analyze the effect of violent video game on aggressiveness only appears to be short, only lasting around 15 minutes. Another research done by Fernando Lopez, where they performed a study of 1,542 high school students from the east coast of Spain. They found that neither violent video games nor aggressive behavior boosted the violent video game over time. Disrupted peers and personality were the most valid variable in the studies for explaining the individual aggressive actions. Ethical approach using utilitarianism. So before I begin, let's take a look at the meaning of what is utilitarianism. So utilitarianism is an ethical theory that determines right from wrong by focusing on the outcome. It holds that the most ethical choice is the one that will produce the greatest good for the greatest number. So with regards to the video game, gaming developer will compare which action is the most ethical and which will produce the best result for the majority of the people. So gaming developer can conclude that including immoral action and glorifying them can lead to video game having unethical content. So this developer should prevent glorifying certain negative behaviors like antisocial conduct and harassment toward women and minority if they want the greatest good for the greatest number. Global analysis around video games. China has been known to enforce strict regulation on its citizens and monitor the data. With regards to video games, China has enforced several regulations. One of the regulations is to impose curfew and time regulation for those under the age of 18. China stated that it is illegal for anyone, regardless of their age, to play games that demonstrate violence, gambling, or sexual exploitation. China believes that if young children spend plenty of time playing video games, it can potentially impact their health and learning. Therefore, they prohibit children from playing video games between the hours of 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. Children are allowed to play only 90 minutes every day, except on holidays where they are allowed to play only 3 hours. China has also banned several games such as Animal Crossing because gamers were spreading anti-government messages, Battlefield 4, and Devotion. Here we have Malaysia. So Malaysia has also set their own regulation when it comes to video games. Malaysia started banning video games where the accident that occurred in New Zealand where several gunmen began shooting at two mosques in Christchurch. After that, Malaysia banned plenty of video games that portray the act of violence, sexual content, and anti-Muslim, since they believe it might influence the younger generation to rebel, to get involved in terrorist groups, and to enjoy the concept of violence and war. So, to avoid such conflict, they banned games such as Fight of Gods, Dante Inferno, and Postal 2. Here we have more statistics, this time regarding if video game and gun death are correlated. As we can see, the United States has over 36.9 billion on gaming revenue, and the gun death visits 4.43. One might think, there might be a relationship between video games and gun death. But let's take a look at China, for example. You can see they also have a lot on gaming revenue, 36.5 billion. But look at the gun death, only 0.04. That's relatively nothing compared to the United States. Also, take Canada for instance. The gaming revenue is far low compared to the United States and China. But the gun death is 0.47, more than China. So what can we conclude from here? We can conclude that there is no correlation between playing video games and violent gun death. Here are the references I used, and this concludes my presentation. Thank you.